And today's facts are facts. This is just one example of water scarcity. Worldwide, 2 billion people don't have access to clean and safe drinking water. 2 million of them live right here in the U.S.
It's an issue impacting all different types of communities, some rural, some urban, but we know Black Americans are disproportionately impacted by failing water infrastructure.
Our first guests today have played an important role in fighting for clean water. In fact, they themselves addressed members of Congress about the issue just last week. Susanna DeAnda is with a Community Water Center in California's Central Valley, and we have Monica Lewis-Patrick, a.k.a. the Water Warrior, is with We the People of Detroit. Ladies, thank you so much for being with us. And Susanna, our first question is for you. Can you tell us first about the work you guys are doing at the Community Water Center?
Yes, good morning. At Community Water Center, we work directly with impacted residents that have not had safe drinking water for decades. Here in California, over 1 million people are exposed to illegal and unsafe levels of contaminants found on their tap water, which means that on a daily basis, families are waking up with the fear of drinking tap water because they don't want to be sick. And on top of that, a lot of our hardworking families are paying some of the highest water rates for toxic water, in essence, paying twice for water, for a water bill, and then on top of that, for bottled water. At Community Water Center, we believe clean water is a basic human right, and that should not be a privilege.
Monica, we want to turn to you now and talk about you becoming the Water Warrior. What are you working on at We the People of Detroit?
Well, we have joined with my colleague and my friend Susanna and the Community Water Center, along with our colleagues and other frontline groups from across the nation with the Water Equity Climate Resilience Caucus, to really appeal to Congress to make sure that there's proper permanent funding for the low-income water assistance program. We know that families are struggling all across the country. We know that water rates have increased by 40% over the last 10 years. And we also know that there are some families paying anywhere from 10 to 25% of their income just to access water. This is not sustainable. This is not affordable.
10 to 25% of their income?
That's
staggering.
That's staggering. That is staggering. And that'll cripple your budget. Susanna, next question is going to be for you. I know last week you were at the congressional briefing. What were you hoping to convey there?
You know, it's really important that our congressmen and women and men are really aware of the conditions that we're living in the country. So we were there to ensure that our voices were heard in Congress, making sure that they understood that water quality is a big problem in the country. And on top of that, affordability is a huge problem. So we were there to ensure that we call attention to a universal low-income rate assistance program to ensure that families don't have to choose whether they pay for water or buy food.
Monica, from what I understand, you were there as well. Do you think your message was received? Do you think there's going to be more progress on this issue following your briefing?
Well, we were so encouraged by the meetings we had with our congressional leaders. Many of them applauded the work that they know that many of us have been leading for decades. And we were excited about the leadership that we heard from our congresspersons, such as Congresswoman Debbie Dingell, Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, the additional Congress leaders such as Haley Stevens and Sri Tanadar. And so we know that Michigan is prepared to lead on this issue. And we're excited about the fact that we can join ranks with California and other congressmen and women across the country to make sure that this happens very soon. We know funds are going to run out at the end of September for many families that need our utilities to unite with them to ensure that everyone has access to clean, safe, and affordable water. We've got to get it done now. We cannot continue to compete and say we are the leaders of the free world, and we cannot deliver this basic necessity to every one of our residents.
Right. And I'm sure, we're loving your urgency with that. Susanna, why are certain communities hit harder than others? Is there a reason? Have we figured this out yet?
You know, absolutely. It's an environmental injustice that's happening across the country. Low-income people of color are hit the hardest, and we're disproportionately affected by this reality for a number of reasons. One, we've been out of planning, and so it's time for us to drive change that we want to see in our communities. And I think that being in D.C. with We the People of Detroit is really bringing awareness to ensuring that we're driving the policy that we want to see ultimately, and that we design programs that really respect and respond to the conditions on the ground.
And Monica, what can our viewers do that are watching? Is there anything they can do to help communities that are suffering from this lack of water?
Well, the first thing we need everyone to do is to make sure that the low-income water assistance program, that the funding is renewed and that is made a permanent policy so that there are no families that are struggling with the inability to afford water. We also need to make sure that not only at a congressional level, but at a state level, through our state revolving fund resources, that those dollars that are coming to the municipalities, that there is an earmarking of funds to ensure that water stays on. It actually costs our municipalities and our utilities more when they shut water off and they have to turn it back on, and then families are struggling to get the pennies together to get it turned back on again. Those burdens on utilities and on families, we can address that. But we can't continue to turn a blind eye to the fact that millions of families in these United States are struggling to keep water on. And we're so grateful for the leadership also that is not just an urban issue, but we're finding from the leadership of Community Water Center that it's also a rural issue as well.
Yeah, it does seem like it is wide-reaching. Susana DeAnda from Community Water Center and Monica Lewis-Patrick from We the People Detroit, thank you so much for joining us today and all the hard work that you're doing for so many people that really need your help here across the country.
Yeah, and it's, for so many of us, we would have no idea that this was an issue, right? Until you really get into it.
Feels like it's just a natural right in order to have clean water.
Right.
Just clean drinking water.
And I would say most of us would think, yeah, just turn on the tap water. You don't realize some of the toxins like they were talking about.
How many people are
the
being
problems,
impacted
right?
as well.